Hello, and welcome to Nature Connect, a vlog where I'm going to be chatting about various environmental issues, the human relationship with nature, and the benefits, both for nature and us, of developing our relationship. So, the relationship between humans and nature has existed for as long as we have been on the earth. At one point, it probably wouldn't have even been considered a relationship. We were, or are, nature, we're a part of the wider ecosystem. But as always, somewhere along the way, we mostly lost our connection with nature and started seeing ourselves as separate entities and seeing nature as a resource, something that we can harvest and mine, utilize without any consideration looking forward towards the future. But we are as much a part of nature today as we were thousands of years ago, and it is more important than ever that we explore our connection with nature. The environmental crisis that I'm sure everybody is fully aware of by now is banging down our doors, and it cannot be ignored. Climate change is the big one that's in the news quite a lot at the moment, but there are other issues, things like overfishing, pollution from waste and litter, and then overpopulation, overharvesting, agricultural issues. There's so many different things that are impacting and contributing to the wider crisis that we're facing. And when we think about it in a bit more depth and how people respond to these issues, they might take them a bit more seriously if they had a greater value or interest in nature and realize that their actions can change the way we live our lives. There's a belief with a lot of people I speak to that one person doesn't make a difference, but one person maybe not, but 7 million or 7 billion people doing one thing can make a huge difference. So it's all about looking at our lives and our behavior and how we interact with nature, and that's what this podcast is going to be all about, looking at that relationship with nature, both on an individual and a society scale, how it's changed, and how amazing nature is, and then what the science says about it all, both about nature and about our relationship and what we can do with it. As I'm recording this, we're in week, 4 or 5, I've lost track, of lockdown in the UK due to the COVID-19, the coronavirus, and that seems as good a time and place as any to start. So due to the unprecedented circumstances we found ourselves in, there's been a huge shift in the day-to-day life of most of people in society, and that is being shown in changes to nature and the environment across the world. So as lockdowns have come in place, we've seen nature and wildlife being given the freedom and the opportunity to return to areas they haven't been. We've seen pollution levels dropping, air quality improving, and so it doesn't take long for nature to start to recover from our global mass scale impacts. But importantly, the lockdowns also slow down our lives and given us the opportunity really to take notice of what's around us, particularly of the nature that's around us. And this really is an opportunity that we should not miss. So today's episode is going to be a bit about things we can do and reconnect with nature a little bit more during isolation. So in the UK, we've been very lucky. Whilst our government have put a down lockdown in place, they've maintained the daily exercise allowance, meaning that we can still get out and walk in our local area. In fact, we're doubly lucky since the lockdown began. We've only had one day of rain, although it is raining today. So it's been great for us. So we've had lots of opportunities to be outside, surrounding ourselves with nature. That amount of sun and lack of rain hasn't been so great for nature and wildlife because they obviously do need the rain. But for much of society, any kind of rain would mean indoor days. So for us, it's been great. Thirdly, the past few weeks have seen spring blossoming. So we've seen lots of wildflowers blooming, the trees have been unfurling new leaves, birds have returned, started nesting, and it's the perfect time for you to walk and sit and enjoy the outside, just listening, watching, and getting a little bit closer to nature. It's a perfect opportunity for it. So looking at why we should be doing this. So why am I here talking to you about our relationship with nature? Um, Obviously, I'm an environmentalist and a conservationist, and so a large part of what I do and I talk about and research into is about how we can improve nature. But that's not because, or not solely because, I care about nature. It's because our lives do depend on it. And there's been loads and loads of research done into the effect the environment or the environment surrounding us can have on us, both mentally and physically. And there are whole fields dedicated to the study of it, which are things I'll be looking at in uh, future episodes. But for now, things like environmental psychology, how our environment, both green and urban environments, affect us mentally and physically, and then things like conservation psychology, is more focused on our relationship with nature and how our behavior can affect the environment and how our behavior is decided and determined and what drives that behavior. And so they're things that we'll be looking into in future episodes. But in the meantime, just for information, a study by the University of East Anglia in England, released in 2018, revealed that exposure to green space reduces the risk of loads of different physical health issues, things like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, premature death, preterm birth, and even things like stress and high blood pressure. While a review of a number of scientific studies found effects of spending time in nature have been shown to occur in measures of memory, attention, concentration, impulse inhibition, and mood, which shows that developing your relationship with nature is vital for our health. So the Japanese practice something called forest bathing, and that scientific research on that has found that just a 15-minute walk in nature, within the trees and the forests, can significantly reduce stress, lower blood pressure, but also increase attention and concentration, meaning at the end of it, you're going to feel happier, you're going to be healthier, and you're going to be in a much better state and mood to continue with your day-to-day life. So just a 15-minute walk every day, all it's going to take. And that is how easy it can be to get you started on this journey of changing your relationship with nature and improving it. All it's going to take is going for a walk. As I said, at the moment, in the UK at least, we've got a daily exercise allowance where you can get out and go for that walk. So it's key for you now to take that opportunity. I'm very lucky. I live within about a 3-minute walk from a local nature reserve in Wales. So I've got an excellent opportunity to go and explore and enjoy the wooded areas around that. But if you don't have anywhere fancy like that to walk, it doesn't matter. You can get out, you can just walk along the street, walk down around the local estates, nose in people's gardens, have a look what they've got there, what's growing. A lady a few doors away from us has a beautiful array of wildflowers growing outside her house, and every time we walk past, we'll see bumblebees and butterflies and different insects visiting them. So you don't have to have fancy woodland or country park habitats to go and explore nature. You can do it just walking past other people's, or even your own garden. You can just sit, relax in your garden, and watch, listen, and see what you can find. At the moment as well, spring, perfect time. The bird song is absolutely fantastic. So it's a great opportunity to really have a sit down and a listen to what's out there. And finally, if you don't have a garden or you don't really fancy going out for a walk to do this, you can just use your windows. There's all sorts of wildlife that will be passing for you to listen to, watch from your window. And if you want to get go a little bit further than that, you can always set up a window box, plant some different flowers, native wildflowers, sunflowers, or even vegetables on your windowsills, and watch them grow and blossom. and see what type of wildlife and insects they then attract. But what's really important in either whatever you're going to do is to take your time and to enjoy and to marvel at the magnificence of nature. It truly is crazy awesome. People say stop and smell the roses, but going beyond the smell of the flowers, you can feel the texture of the texture of the bark on different trees, and start to notice that big patch of green that you walk past or drive past every day is actually uh, an ecosystem full of a huge number of different trees and plants that all grow in the same place, but all have that green that we've just come to associate with trees. You can spend time watching the birds flying across the sky, watch them nearby bushes. It's a time for nesting, so it's a great time to watch the birds coming and going. Um, but to remember to use more than just your sight, more than just looking. Try to touch things and feel things and getting close and smell them and use their other senses. Get used to exploring with more than just your eyes. And then you can ask yourself questions, not necessarily ones you have or know or will need the answer to, but questions that start to help develop that sense of awe about nature. And it's from that we can start to develop value. So questions like, how old is that tree? Why do seeds look like that? I was asked recently, why are conkers so big? And I don't know the answer, but it's an interesting question. The conker is the seed of the horse chestnut tree, which is a very large tree, but the conker is very different to, for example, a beech seed, which is a tiny seed, but like with a very, very large tree. So start to ask questions of why have they evolved in that way? How do bees fly? And why are they collecting pollen? Why do they visit flowers? And as you start to ask questions, you're going to become amazed at the complexity of nature and of our local habitats, and generally then the interconnectedness. You'll start to wonder what those relationships between different species, different plants, insects. So nature is really, really amazing. It's truly, truly fascinating. I almost every day see something that amazes me, and you really don't need to go far to start to be amazed by it. But I hope you will take the time to look, to stop, and to touch, and to feel, and start to admire nature that surrounds you. Because the first step to us changing our behaviours and our damage and impact on the environment is to start to value it and start to understand the relationships between species in nature and between us and nature. So remember that value, and everything has a place in the ecosystem, including ourselves. Take care, stay safe, and stay home.